Well, first I have to question, how do you ask God how he perceives himself as a creator? My name is Erik. I'm a 26-year-old Norwegian artist, currently residing in Fredrikstad. I am 180 something centimeters high, and I have an athletic body. It sounds way better than slim or skinny. I do Ashtanga yoga approximately 2 or 3 times a week, and I spend the same amount on contemporary dance. Sometimes I drink too much, other times not enough. I play the guitar. I know at least 2 songs by heart. I love to travel, even though I don't get to do it very often. The membrane in between authentic identity and artificial persona that we find in self-presentation through social media is fascinating. In my work, I'm all about artistic articulation, not necessarily through social media, but I definitely explore the same area. It's not really about fiction or what we perceive as reality. It's more like, what artistic language should we use in order to say what we want to express? Style, method, and genre doesn't create the work. It is what we need to say that decides how to say it. Then things like genre and style are chosen or even born based on that. That is also why it's difficult for me to say that I'm only an actor, because that depends on the work that I do, or what the work demands from me. I have I've had to change my lifestyle in order to do the work justice. From an 8-hour physical training on a weekly basis to a daily practice of 10 to 11 hours. When I did contemporary dance production, for example. And then I had to be a dancer, or I was a dancer. And in the same way, when I did my my art exhibition, and then I also had to get some help, some outside help, and I got help from the curator at Astor Frange Museum to teach me about the art of curating, building an exhibition dramaturgy, the language of public art presentation. And I also fell in love with an artist for the first time, or more accurate to say, an art concept. This was the superflat. And I also brought that somehow into my practice. And it even sent me further, because I had the possibility to go and visit the superflat phenomenon, the home country of the superflat phenomenon and Tadashi Murakami. I lived in Japan for about half a year, and I did devised musical performance with the Yokohama Theater Group. And I also indulged in different art practices, both traditionally and modern. At one point I was also a part of a Japanese game show, the Crystal Live, and I also was invited to lead workshops at the Young Artist Training Program at the new National Theatre Tokyo, and also at K-Pass, where I focused on mainly on alternative notation and extended vocal techniques. I'm also not a musician, but I work with music and sound. I'm a sound composer. As a part of my artistic process, I've also had the possibility to be challenged with creating different art installations. In Germany, I did a sound installation with the help from Maria Magdalena Svegemann and the film director Hans-Jürgen Syberberg, where I made myself a quite difficult task to provide the people with a public soundscape that is authentic to the city itself and also the present day. Even though it relates to the after effects of the Second World War, which was quite crucial in that specific city, Demmin. In that way, I thought, or it would hopefully be accessible across the generation gap that lives there today. No, I don't think of it as a weakness to not being loyal towards one specific technique, method, or even me straying away from the definition of actor.
We were not long together. We were not long together when she smelled the rat. Give up that horse, she said, or I'll cut my throat. Pardon, so help me God. I knew she could have no proof, so I told her I did not know what she was talking about.
What are you talking about? I said stitching away.
Actually, I think it's a strength, at least for now, to only define myself as an artist in the broad sense. However, there are always some key methods and techniques that I reuse again and again. At least my tools is very much the same. It is the work that tells me how to use the tool. I see my work as a composition and myself as a composer in a way. Even if I use extended vocal techniques, viewpoints, the analytical elements of the visual art, or the modern techniques of cinematography, whatever, I simply compose elements together, often by using some sort of frame to narrow it down and limit the possibilities. And of course, that paradoxically opens up for freedom and creativity as well. I open myself up for the unknown. Or actually, I go looking for the unknown. That is more accurate to say. I do things I don't know how to do in order to broaden my perception and to research performance as a practice. In that sense, I receive impulses and I just simply react upon them. And that is my main work. Also to, of course, figure out how to materialize this sensation into something. And it is this something that is art for me, in a sense. Me as an artist, I am just simply a medium, and that would try to help the art or this something become what it needs to become, rather than molding the clay in order to make it fit to my vision. While you run towards this, you will never reach that point. And of course, if you did, then what good would it be to create the art? It already exists in my mind, yes? So I don't need that. My first language is sign language, so to communicate with visual language has always been natural to me. The intriguing part is, of course, this phenomenon that happens when or between a spoken language and a visual language, how a word becomes a sign, and how a sign how a word becomes a sign, and how a sign contains a word. And both, of course, contain so much more than just the other word. But to some degree, we just have to accept it for what it is and say that these two words are equal in one way or another, even though I know so well that they are not and they can never be. Perhaps that is also why I, in one way, think of myself as a translator of art.